It's we are live. Bob Miller here, Neil Kravitz. And we've been kicking this idea around for, I don't know, a month or so. And just with all the craziness going on, comparing notes, we felt like, at some point in the near future, which is now, we need to have a dialogue where we just kind of share some positive things that have happened in this year, because you kind of have to look deep and hard to find anything positive about 2020. So I'm going to start off and just kind of dialogue with Neil on some things we've been talking about for the last 6 or 8 months. And that is, how can we as professionals help each other contribute to the cause, so to speak, in this most trying time when everyone's concerned about, patients, where are our patients? Biggest concern during COVID is you got patients out there with braces on, where are they? And why can't we see them? And then the second concern is, where are our new patients going to come in? Are they afraid? And so talk to me, Neil, about some of the thoughts you have about this kind of a trying time we often refer to as COVID.
Yeah, no, this has been tricky, and I'll tell you, the hardest thing for me was March. March, when just I think I've always said that we all live month to month. We all I'm not sure our spouses are even quite aware of the remarkable bills that we have to do to pay for our offices, or to take care of 30, 50 more people that we'd have to take care of. And I told my wife, I said, I'll be fine, but I gotta be at work. I can handle anything. I can work 8 days a week, but I can't not be at work. And that was so challenging for me, more than anything. I thought I could handle anything, but I couldn't do it if I wasn't even given a chance. I said, I just need a chance to fight. And March was so hard for me because you know me, man. I'll work 20 hours a day, but I gotta be at work. So that was very challenging, and things got easier for me stress-wise once I was able to work. And I'm okay with the change in schedule. I'm okay with what I have to do, frankly, is we have still stayed with our no more than 10 people in the office protocol.
Yeah, we have to.
So I've never really changed that. And that really was dictated by my front staff who wouldn't let me change that any other way. So I'm happy that we have. And so what I've been doing is I have been working 7 days a week, 7 full days a week, trying to keep the flow normal, but keep the patient base such. And then the hard part, coming back, obviously, was what to do with all those 2 months worth of patients. Those are thousands of patients that we had to fit into our schedule, and a schedule that wasn't even working at full capacity. Right. We're never going to be able to go back to that 5th gear. By the way, you know what I mean? There will be no back to normal. The normal has changed. The pace has changed. We are going to have to operate much different and much better, and maybe for the good.
Hey, let me ask you a question, kind of off topic, but it seemed when we came back, the patients that had not been seen 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, I was surprised at how much progress they had made, but also I was surprised at how clean their teeth were. And now I'm seeing the opposite.
Yeah.
These kids, these homeschooled, everyone's homeschooled now. It's almost like if they're not in front of their computer screen with a teacher, they're in front of a video game. And they're not brushing their teeth. Is that something you've observed?
Yeah, I totally agree. And there were many kids who we hadn't seen for almost 6 months. They came back and things looked great. And now all of a sudden, and you're seeing it with the Invisalign patients. I wonder how many people out there. I mean, I tell people, nobody, there's all these articles out there. You had that great line, right? Are these aligners a fomite for bacteria? But on top of it, I just don't think people are even wearing them. I think so. Everyone, all these articles are how these aligners are the perfect orthodontic treatment for somebody, during this time. And I tell parents, I go, no, but your schedule has changed. You're going to be grazing on food all day long, and you're not going to. I can't get anybody to wear their aligners. Would you agree? Would you
compliance has dropped way off in all aspects, cleaning teeth, just all aspects of compliance. My wife and I, it's funny, we were same thing, like driving each other crazy during those 6 weeks off. And we quarantined in southern Utah, which is this beautiful, beautiful place in March. And so we kind of found that ideal spot. But, after 6 weeks of looking at each other, we're like, wow, we've never had this before. Hey, so I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about, somebody that I have studied my entire career. Back, I trained in the 80s. And there was a guy named W. Edwards Deming. And some have probably heard of him, most have not, because you're in that generation where Deming's focus and his what he has taught millions of people has sort of come and gone. But let me give you a little history of this guy. In 1950, he was commissioned by the United States government to go help the Japanese rebuild their infrastructure. And at the time, 1950, anything made in Japan was junk. And they were the most heavily import-dependent country in the world in 1950. He went over there and met with a bunch of leaders in business and kind of shared with them what he calls his 14 points of quality and his approach to quality, his approach to business. Now, this is a guy that's a PhD statistician, and he worked for the government. The reason why the Japanese were interested in this man, twofold. Number one, he was 6'4", so he had this towering person. But number two, he was recognized by the Japanese as the man that was in charge of the logistics during World War II of mobilizing the greatest buildup of a wartime machine in the history of the world. And that was the United States in changing the infrastructure to mobilize for World War II. This was the guy that kind of put everything together. Very quality systems approach. So that he went over to help the Japanese, and he met with a bunch of leaders. And after about 6 months, he made a prediction. This was 1950. He said, within 5 years, you will become an export country instead of an import country. And he missed it by 1 year. It only took 4 years. So he implemented the single word into the Japanese culture, and that's quality. And to take it a step further, the Japanese, through his teachings, have developed back then and still to this day a system that they call Kaizen, which is a term for continuous quality. Now, why is that relevant today? So he basically helped the Japanese in 1970s, early 1970s, from the 60s, really mid-50s to the 70s, everything made in America could not be made fast enough. Quantity. We stood for quantity. Because think about it, war-torn Europe, war-torn Asia, it was the United States where everything was manufactured in quantity, not quality. And so the Japanese are developing this quality, and it really hit our country hard in the 1970s and early 80s. And he was not recognized in the United States since World War II until 1980, when it became very apparent Japanese cars were far superior to any car made in America. And then he became recognized. And his whole philosophy of continuous quality, continuous change for improvement, no more has it been relevant in orthodontics than right now. With the digital technologies, competition from sources we didn't even know existed 3 to 5 years ago. What are your thoughts, Neil, on just thinking about of all of us becoming students of Deming, based on what I just said, the history, what do you think? How could we apply that to our profession moving forward, knowing what all of the prevailing elements are out there?
No, I love it. The story's great. First thing, I love war history, by the way, which I always find just to be, and I had never heard this story before. But so listen, I think this is in many ways in the path that I have taken. If you try to go too fast, if you take shortcuts, if you focus on short-term goals versus the long-term goals, it catches up to you, and you have to you will have a reckoning. You will have a reckoning where you say, this is not right. I need to rewire. Quality will always win the marathon over quantity, and there's no shortcuts. There's at the end of the day, if things are done wrong, right? So it's anything, right? I mean, look at there. Years ago there was this famous football stadium built in Texas, $60 million Texas football stadium. What they boasted about, they put all their taxes into it, and within first week of the season, there was cracks in the infrastructure, and they got to tear the whole thing down. I mean, that is ortho. That is so. So what I have learned in terms of my growth, I was focused on practice growth and collections and all the things that I had learned poorly working in a corporation, and also just me being young and immature and thinking that I knew what it meant to be an orthodontist.
Yeah.
And then I realized very quickly that that was not the way to be. That was not to a happier life. And actually, once I focused on quality, everything improved. And it is a lesson that I think people will push and unfortunately have to learn through error and reflection. And we constantly keep testing the limit. There's no way to make it faster. You have to do things the right way, or you're going to have to remake it. So no shortcuts in life.
One of the things I love about the Metro DC group is, I think that group stands for quality, and everyone's trying to find better ways to be better clinicians. And case in point, you showed a beautiful Mara case a day or two ago. And I thought, it's funny how most people do agree, treat the class 2 first, then put the braces on. Braces are for fine tuning. They're not for moving teeth greater than a couple of millimeters. So I do it different. But our philosophy about the quality is the same.
Well, I still remember your doctoral lecture in Alexandria, 14 years ago. That your work is, listen, you're the best, man. You're the best.
Listen, it doesn't matter how we get there, but let's get there so that we can put the brackets on. So the brackets have to do the least amount of work. And I love some of the precision digital workflows that we have access to now. It's amazing. I love Lightforce. I love Embrace. I can't find enough reasons to use our scanner. I just had a 3D metal printed palate expander come in today, just about an hour ago, with the daughter of a dentist. And, dentists think it's so cool to have a chrome cobalt palate expander that's like a RPE framework.
Which lab do you use?
RPD. We use Cottonwood.
Okay.
There's a bunch of good labs, and the whole thing with 3D metal printing, it's cool. I don't think it's not something I want to use on every patient, but there are times when it's applicable. And but my point is, she came in, a part of it was broken off. Well, no big deal. It was still rock solid. And so quick fix, and she's back out. And we're not having the issues by having all these digital workflows. We're not having the issues. And then when the brackets are on, they're on for less time. How beautiful is that?
Now, listen. Hey, listen, man. I want to go back to the quality for something. If there are
Okay.
younger doctors listening, I will tell you, Bob. When I started, I started at a corporation, and as
Right.
corporations take over, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was very happy with my life. It's not where I see myself going. The focus is going to be on quantity and collection, and you have to do
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
once you hire an associate,
Yeah.
payroll becomes king. Once you
Yeah.
have lots of doctors, payroll becomes king, and if payroll becomes king, collection becomes king, and that's
Right.
where the pressure closing and the collection. So here's what I always tell people. I hope that I have been a good example for people in the sense that I made a lot of my mistakes early, and I tell
Yeah.
people, the rules of the old-fashioned way of doing things will never go out of style. I mean, doing it right will always trump anything else. And I will
Yeah.
tell you, if you start putting on braces multiple times, it's because we didn't get it right the first time.
Right.
That's what I tell my patients. I go, I'm putting them on again because I didn't get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it is a very hard lesson in life to learn the right cadence. And for me, it was hard because I had to slow down. It's much easier to learn speed. It's much harder to learn how to go. No, that I'm out of control at that speed.
Yeah.
But no, the lesson of life will always be quality trumps quantity, and in the end, you'll win because you're not redoing and remaking, and if it's manufacturing, recalling, and if it's ortho, it's redoing. It is a hard lesson, but it's a straighter line, and it's also a happier life. So. And the technology helps, and all this stuff that you mentioned is going to help us along the way. But quality, if it's rock, paper, scissors, quality wins every time. Always.
It's fun to get to a point in your career where most of your patients come from other patients or siblings or kids down the road, and not relying on the whims of the general dentist. The whining and dining days are done, and it feels good. It feels right to not have to placate maybe the person next door that's doing who knows what kind of treatments, and that's okay. That's okay if they're sleeping at night and they're having a good life. That's great, and we want to help them when we can. But talk to me, Neil, about some of the things we've talked about. Is here we're going into Thanksgiving. We've had like just a horrendous year of craziness. Like, could it get any worse? And so comment on what you see, the future of your generation and younger. What's going to come out of our profession moving forward, dialoguing with these dentists and helping them when they get into a bind in creating a culture of quality.
Yeah, no, listen, it's challenging in the sense that I would love the rapport there. But what happened, and I've long believed this, is pediatric dentists doing orthodontics or general dentists doing Invisalign forced orthodontists who were very relaxed to go directly to the public and say, well, now we're going to educate. And we talk about all these appliances out there, these airway appliances, these AGA appliances, these Alpha appliances, which orthos know, and AGA appliance is just a molar distalizer. Alpha appliance is a Crozat from like the 30s. This stuff is junk. And, the DNA appliance is a Holly bite plate. This stuff, these are toys that people don't know really how to use. But here's the thing, right? So our hands were forced to go to the public, and I think it encouraged us to show a little bit more resolve, more we're a little bit more robust, and we can stand up for ourselves a little bit, and we can vocalize ourselves a little bit. But I will also tell you, dentists need to go through their orthodontic itch and scratch that itch. and realize that this is not as easy as they see, and they'll come back. But I focus on the professionals that I like to focus on. I don't know if that's ever going to change. What I have learned is I don't need to work with 50 dentists, but I do have a core of dentists, and they're not buddies. They're not golfing buddies, but they're people that have the same core values. So if I don't do a lot of first phase treatment. I'm not sure if I'm great at it. And I work with pediatric dentists who like knowing that they're going to refer to me, and I'm probably not going to do treatment, and I'm going to refer back to them for deciduous tooth extraction. And there's nothing wrong if you are a pediatric dentist and you have a dentist who does really great phase one. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's so many ways to do good ortho. But I think what I see in the future, to answer your question specifically, is I certainly see clear aligners being a bigger part in digital technology. And, Alfred Griffin's company, Lightforce, is going to be great. And all these companies are going to really be important. And there's going to be more customization. But at the end of the day, I don't know if things change that much. I'm not too worried about Smile Direct. I'm not too worried. When I was in dental school, there were bleaching centers everywhere. Everybody was getting them. And they're all they're all out of business. And all dentists were buying bleaching centers, and they're all out of business. Now we give away bleach. Now I can't give it away fast enough. Zoom centers.
We put a little ribbon on the bleach.
Yeah, we give them I throw them at people in the parking lot. I don't want it.
When you run out, come back. I'll give you another.
Take another one. I don't want it. So listen. So I don't answer your question specifically. I know I kind of talk on a tangent. Nothing's going to change, but I will tell you what has happened is everybody kept poking the bear. And we're the bear. In case if there's a dentist listening, I'm the bear. We were chill because we have a good life, and we're secure, and we can handle the crumbs on the table if you want to have them. But people kept poking the bear, so now orthodontists are marketing directly to the public. Orthodontists said to the AAO, we need you to go directly to the public. And I think what's happening is you are seeing a younger generation of orthodontists. It's like, we're not going to take it playing in the background, and we're standing on the tables and just saying, you know what, I think enough. And listen, I make so many mistakes. I am not perfect. I don't really critique. I don't many dentists who do wonderful orthodontic work. Pediatric dentists who do wonderful work. I'm not like that. Like I have too many mistakes to think I'm doing better than anybody. But I will tell you, I think what has happened is orthodontists are no longer going to be diffident, are no longer going to, and I have called up dentists who are wonderful and just said, listen, you're the best, but we just don't work well together. Like we're just not the team. I'm not your orthodontist because you don't want teeth extracted and I need to extract teeth. And there's nothing wrong with, you're not wrong, I'm not wrong. And let's find people that don't create anxiety for us and for the patient. Totally and we're good. And I won't think anything ill of you. You're the best. But, this is how I treat. And, it may not be any different than like your retention protocol. There are dentists that may not like permanent retainers, and I really like them, you know what I mean? And I don't want to deal with someone calling me up telling me to change my retainer. So I just think, to answer your question, I think things will stay relatively the same, but I think what you're going to see is a generation of orthodontists who stick up for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I think basically, to sum it up, we're taking the high road, and the recommendation is always take the high road. The thing we've got going for us, poking the bear is a good one, is data. We have data, and we take our data and we tell a story, and it's a story that makes sense to the patient. And so if we just live by the fact that we have the data and use that data to tell the story, you're going to have all the patients you want or need. It really, that's my advice to somebody coming out of school. that looks at Smile Direct Club and all these wacky appliances and, all the competition from the various sources. We used to worry about those corporate entities. I remember Orthodontic Centers of America. Everyone thought that was going to shut us down. And they all kind of come and go. And it really comes back to the patient taking the high road, providing quality care. Quality care sticks.
There's no free lunches, and there are no free. What is it? Don't sweat the small stuff. You got to sweat the small stuff. Everything counts. Everything counts. Everything helps or everything hurts. And there are no free lunches in ortho. And I'll tell you, it is. It's really. When you're a student and you see that teacher and who's just taking their time and really dragging their feet, and you just tell yourself as a resident, I'm never going to be like this guy.
Yeah.
The reality is you need to be like that guy. And my great regrets is I was such an arrogant kid who thought he knew so much. And I find myself practicing very traditional, very old fashioned. Ortho's like, you start looking at these x-rays, it's like the Matrix. All of a sudden, it like you see it. Like you look at a case now, you're like, I see it. I see it as a jaw that will not grow, and this is not a functional appliance. Or I see it as a ectopic canine that's going to be very problematic, and I need to do be aggressive. So it's really, I always say it's like all of a sudden you get to a point in your life where it's just like I see these things differently now, and my regret is that it takes so many years to get there. And
I used to say it takes 5 years out of ortho school to not do damage.
Oh yeah. That was McNamara's line. He said he used to say to people, "You're going to know if you're any good after 5 years out of school." And I agree. And the great thing about our job and our profession is that if you are humble and if you are willing to correct your work and willing to have quality over quantity approach, you can retreat your patients. Patients come back in the office. I can't put them back in braces fast enough. I say, I'm so much better than I was when I was 26 years old and starting out. I said, let me put the braces on. Even 6 months, I'm just a world better. And I actually look forward to those opportunities.
Yeah. We call them revisions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, aligners. Yeah. I think that's a good thing. I think so. To let's wrap this up. I want you to comment just for a couple more minutes on, taking this quality concept, taking the high road both to our competitors and our colleagues. How tell me about when you made this decision to start this group, and it's grown. It's a good number of quality people. I think you've done a great thing for the profession and certainly in Northern Virginia, an area I know, and of course, Maryland, DC, it's so tough. But, now there seems to me be a healthy dialogue amongst colleagues. And in this discussion, going into Thanksgiving and giving thanks, wrap it up for us. Give us your final hurrah speech going into this Thanksgiving. Neil, I'm going to give it to you. You wrap it up.
I appreciate it. Well, listen, I am very thankful for people like you in my life, for people who have joined this group. I had this vision of if we got to know each other, we would realize that we have it wrong. Many people have very strong feelings and perceptions about people that they had never met. So I've long said that we are colleagues, not competitors. It's a mantra. It's a tagline that's kind of followed me around, and I'm very proud of that. And I have long believed that we have the wrong perceptions of the guy or gal up the street. And that's why every Friday you have to post a family photo. And that's why the first thing I did on this group is post every document I had in my office. So if you want anything from prices, it's all available. And I felt that if people could just see us, you realize that everybody, you're not smarter than everybody. Everybody got perfect scores. Yeah. Everybody is brilliant. Everybody has got kids. Everybody's doing their best they can. And maybe if we can personalize the person up the street, orthodontists who move teeth should not have arch enemies. We should not have competitors. We should not have ill will. And actually, it's really good that these people are there. So my mission was that if we could learn about each other and communicate and really resist that competitiveness within ourselves, we can really form meaningful relationships that are going to allow for a very healthy professional career next to people. And the one thing that we don't really teach is how to work with the orthodontist up the street. And I've really enjoyed the friendships and the relationships and the de-stressing. I had Anissa, I hope Anissa's listening. I had a wonderful conversation with her today. Anissa's 2 miles up the street, and she helps me out, and I'm very grateful with the help she's given in my office. So like, this is like what this is about. And I'm really on a mission to improve the way we treat one another. And I hope that people get from this group, because people always ask me when I invite them, like, what's your goal? What's your purpose? As if there's something hidden, like I'm going to hit everybody with dues or something. There's no doubt. The whole purpose is it's cathartic for me. It's a mea culpa. It's also it's a way of just saying, listen, I was too competitive. I had the wrong approach when I was younger. And I wish I could go back, and all I can do now is really try to help everyone just talk. And I will tell you, if you join the group, you'll never regret it, because it really is about sharing and coming together. And I hope this group has enabled a very competitive area to form good relationships, because ultimately we're not affecting each other's business. So we might as well be able to support one another along the journey.
Agree. Totally agree. So that's great. If anyone has any questions, if you look to the side there, you can post a comment. If you have any questions for Neil or myself, I'll just add one more thing to that. It is amazing. And for those who are thinking that maybe they've been invited, but they don't want to say yes yet, this video will be recorded and maintained in the Facebook group, the Metro DC group. But I also recorded it for my YouTube page. So if anyone, might be intimidated to go, they think they have to sign up to see this video, I would just encourage people to watch it. If you just watch a little bit of it, if you're driving, going to your in-laws or whatever, grab it, take it from the top to the bottom. I think it's 30 minutes well spent. And I really appreciate you taking the time, Neil. I know we've talked about this for a while. I'm glad we were finally able to get it together. Now, if you don't post a question now, feel free, after it's posted, you can put it in the comments. Neil or I, directed at each of us, will definitely answer any questions you have. Thanks so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We look forward to more cases and more dialogue.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
All
guys.
right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.